Hello everyone and welcome to Accessible Tech Thursdays. This week we're covering visual learning. I'm joined today by Sarah Alderman. Hi Sarah.
Hi.
And we've got some resources today that have been submitted by Erica Smith as well, but she can't be here today. Okay, so let's get stuck in. So why visual learning? Visual is one of the many kind of senses that we've got, and it's another way of taking in information. As we see from the pyramid of learning here, it's in that kind of systems, those kind of ways that we initially make sense of the world around us, that leads on up to development and intellect and cognition. So how do we do that? That's what we're going to be covering today. The reason that we're looking at visual learning is kind of a number ones of these here that have been highlighted as kind of issues from teachers that are important. So if we look on the list there, this is a survey receiving 219 responses from 166 schools. One of the top ones there is engaging pupils. Now, if I have slides today that are quite text heavy, you're not going to be as engaged. Whereas if I've got slides with pictures and things like that, it's going to be much more engaging. Enabling struggling learners, potentially you're giving them different ways of understanding information. You're providing differentiated support in that same kind of way. It gives opportunities for personalized learning because learners can choose symbols and pictures that mean something to them, that have an association, and they can build new associations as well. It does create an inclusive learning environment. And yeah, so it covers quite a few of those issues that are important for teaching staff. So this is why we put this together this week. I'm going to start off talking a little bit about Clicker. So Clicker is a literacy tool to support learners of all abilities. You can write what are called grids with the option of symbol or picture support. And there's something called Clicker boards, which is a mind mapping tool that can have symbol and picture sets. And we'll go into some other mind mapping tools later on. So if you don't think this is right for your learners, then don't worry, we have got more tools for you to look at. It has different types of symbol sets, PCS, also known as PECs, symbol sticks, widget, or CrickPics. There's also Clicker documents, which is a bit like Microsoft Word, but a bit more pared down and simpler and easier to interact with. So definitely something that maybe if you're looking for learners to start using word processing tools, but maybe Microsoft Word might be a bit too much, or Google Docs might be a bit too much, it might be a good halfway house. And Clicker Books, which is another tool for social stories, which we'll be talking a little bit more later on with Sarah about that. So a Clicker board, this is what they look like, and they've got the different tabs along the sides. So this is just one of them. You can use it to develop ideas using pictures, text, and voice. You can produce mind maps, storyboards, and notes. So I've got a little video to share here just to give you an idea of what that looks like. So if you just bear with me a minute, I'm just going to change my screen share. Okay, there it is. Okay, so you should be able to see my screen now.
Welcome back. In this tutorial, we'll be looking at how to create and edit a Clicker board. Clicker board provides learners with a built-in planning and mind mapping tool to help them prepare their writing. Children can write and link ideas, as well as add pictures and sounds. Clicker board is also a valuable whole class teaching tool. Let's look at how to create your own Clicker board. First, go to the Clicker Set ribbon and click New. Then select the Planning Boards tab. Here you can see that there are lots of templates to choose from, but we're going to start with a blank Clicker board. To add objects to the board, click here. We drag cells onto the board and then double-click to add text to the cell. We're going to create mind maps about different climate zones. This first board will focus on deserts. If we double-click on the board, another cell is automatically created. We'll add a characteristic of a desert climate. We can link these cells with a line by dragging the round handle. A quick way to create another linked cell is to just drag out from a round handle onto the board. We'll add a few more characteristics of a desert to the mind map. To resize a cell, drag the square handles. To make changes to the appearance of a cell, first select the cell, then click here to change the shape of the cell. We can add a picture to the cell by clicking here. When we browse for pictures, it uses the text in the cell to search. And change the colour of the cell here. If we want to make changes to more than one cell at the same time, we can select multiple cells by holding Ctrl while clicking them. Then we can move them around or resize them, or change their colour, or change the cell shape. We add a voice note to the board from here so that children can record information about their mind map as well. Double-click the voice note to record. A clicker board can have multiple tabs. In this case, we might want to have another tab for a different climate zone. First, we'll double-click here to name this tab. And then we'll use this to create an additional tab and we'll name it. On the new Polar tab, we'll quickly make a mind map. Let's imagine that we have now completed both of our mind maps. Learners can then use the mind maps to help them write about different climates. They can always use the tabs at the bottom to move between the document and the clicker board. But using this, we can export the mind maps in different ways. We can export them as graphics, send them to the document as a diagram, or as simply text. But we'll create a word bank from them to give our learners additional writing support. A word bank is created that reflects the tabs of the clicker board, and any pictures are also included. To save the clicker board, go to the Clicker Sets ribbon and click Save. Be sure to visit Learning Grids for dozens of free, ready-made clicker boards that you can use and edit for your learners. Thanks for watching. See our other tutorials for more clicker features.
Okay, that was a clicker there with one of the boards. I'm just going to switch back to my presentation now. Okay. Let's go back to where we were. Okay, so that was clicker board. We've got the link on there as well to that video if you want to access it. And it'll also be stored in our shared folder, so you can have access to that when you, if you just want to see that video on its own. They have other different tabs as well, so you can create a clicker book where you can associate pictures with blocks of text, which makes it really good to kind of create projects with. You can have talk sets, which can break down and start to look at vocabulary, talking about things and telling stories. You can do matching sets if that's the kind of level that you're at with learners. And there are a wide range of boards from the library of other things that people have created. So it's quite good to get something from the library and then adapt it to your own needs. So that was a whistle-stop tour of Clicker. It's a really good visual tool. There's some extra resources that we've got on the slides, which we'll have in the shared folder. So there's a how-to guide, there's nice kind of 90-second bite-sized training guides, and a website index for help as well. So we touched on mind mapping there. Mind mapping provides the possibility of rearranging sections and subsections, and it gives a very accessible way of structuring things. With mind mapping, learners should be encouraged to kind of learn some basic keyboard shortcuts. You can use, with some of the mind mapping software, you can use just space and enter to kind of make new cells and make new sub branches. And this means that you don't have to interrupt thought processes, and you don't have to switch your visual field between what you're looking at and the mouse if you've got your fingers on the keyboard ready. There's also the possibility of using dictation software such as Dragon alongside this. So you can create your mind map and then populate the cell's text with your voice. So there's lots of different mind mapping software with different features, and they generally have the same goal, achieve the same goal. So it's worth considering using some mind mapping apps for tablets if you want mobility, and if that's a really useful feature for you for learners. And lots of learners prefer this rather than a mouse and keyboard. You can use mind mapping for decision making to set out a range of options and kind of give different factors. That can be very helpful for learners to figure things out. You can use it for group work to make sure that you've stored what everyone else has completed in the group. You can plot a process, which is really important with learners maybe on the autistic spectrum, when you're looking at kind of going through step by step, and then you can use either symbols or pictures, whatever they prefer. And there's often kind of symbol sets that are built in that you can use, or you can have your own images. So XMind is an example of this, and I'm just going to do a quick demonstration just to kind of show you how easy it is to make a mind map. So you should be able to see my XMind one here. This is XMind 8. So I'll go to New Blank Map, click on the central topic, and let's call this one Visual Learning. I feel that's something I should know about if I'm delivering that today. Okay, and then we can look at some of the keyboard shortcuts now. So if I hit enter, it saves it. If I hit enter again, it automatically branches out to another main topic. So then I can just start typing straight away. So I don't have to switch between the keyboard and mouse. So let's go Microsoft. So that's one of the tools that I know I've saved. So if you're preparing for learners, you could actually prepare them a folder of visual resources, or you could have it as a separate task to explore and find visual resources that will be useful for them. And go to Insert and Image from File. You can do a keyboard shortcut if that's easier. Control and I. I is easy to remember for image, I suppose. Onto the desktop and ignore my clutter. And I've got some visual learning pictures here. So I've actually put in a picture of immersive reader there with one of the symbol sets. So it gives you a nice clear image. You can resize that as suits. Let's make another one. So let's just call it a mind map. Go to Insert, Image from File, and yeah, let's put in one from Clicker. There we go. Okay, so you can build that up. You can add in your own text, as we said, but for now I'm just going to keep it as a visual mind map. One of the tools that I like the most, and why this is not just a tool for learners with disabilities, is this is actually a really good essay planning tool. I was really bad at essays when I was younger, and I just didn't know where to start. So I would have found this really useful If you go to File and we go to Export, now you need the Pro version to export it into Microsoft Word, but I think it's a really useful feature. You can export it to text file and image for free. So if you didn't want to go the full version, you can just go for a text file, and that'll just give you the text out. And then separately, you could do it as an image, and then you can have the images that they've captured. But we're going to go for the Pro. And you can always ask the XMind if you could have a trial to try these things if you're not sure about them. So we're going to go next. You get to choose what's in there. So I quite like an overview picture, which gives me an idea of the mind map still, so I can remember where it's all come from. I definitely want my images in there, and I'd have my notes in there as well. Choose where you want to save it and click Finish. Let's open it straight away. So I'll just need to change my share to the new document. Okay, so you should be able to see my Microsoft Word document that's been populated now. So they've instantly given me an index with the ideas that I've laid out. I could have added extra subjects within there and extra branches and breaking it down further. And you can see an overview picture of everything that we captured. And then it's listed the subheadings of Microsoft, and we've got the picture there, and you've got mind map, and you've got the picture there as well. So you've broken things down, and you've got your essay plan with pictures there, so learners can start expanding on that. Again, that works really well with dictation. If you've got learners with learning disabilities, it means that they've been able to capture their ideas pictorially, and then they can talk about them. It gives you quite a few different options for accessibility. There are, within XMind, there are some good default symbol sets, including ones of calendars. So you can use XMind to create timetables and other things that need pictorial displays. So yeah, that's an overview of XMind. And I'm just going to get back to the presentation. Now, lots of you learners use mobile devices now. So I just wanted to give an option on mobile devices, something called MyMind. It's free. So whatever phone you've got right now, as long as you've got some space on it, you can download it for free. It's, as you can see, you can add pictures in again. It's a bit more complex with the menu around. Some people really like that. It is at least symbol based, but for some it can be a bit too busy on the screen. But yeah, it's a really good way of kind of on the go, taking down notes, adding in pictures, and you can build up a project. You can export that as PDF, JPEG, text, and more. So it's the kind of thing that you could use as a teacher or facilitator to build up resources, and then show your learners then how to do that the same. Okay, another important area is visual timetables. So whenever we talk about these things, we always say to start from the learner first, because it's them that's going to be using it. It isn't the same. It isn't going to be the same for all the learners. What works for one doesn't necessarily work for another. So on the right hand side here, we've got an example of a visual timetable made in BoardMaker. And that symbol set there, they have a few different symbol sets. But other learners may prefer objects of reference. Others may want photographs, or others might have symbol sets that they've grown up with or use that are differently. So it's worth kind of thinking about the individual learner there. To mention Flipgrid, because this is a really good way of learners being able to submit videos to complete pieces of work. So it's good if you've got learners who are visual rather than kind of text-based. It does work with Immersive Reader, which, as we've discussed with Microsoft, is a really good accessibility tool. Now, social stories. we're going to hand over to Sarah just to talk a little bit about social stories.
Yes, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about social stories. So social stories are a tool that have been around for a while. They were created by a lady called Carol Gray in the 90s. And they were originally devised for students with autism. So the idea is that the story provides information, perhaps about self-care, perhaps about behavior or social skills, or maybe an event or something that's coming up. So the story is written in the first person from the individual's perspective. And social stories, while they were created for students with autism, are really useful for any students who might have difficulties with their understanding of language, difficulties with social communication, or students who experience anxiety. So I'll give you a few examples of when you might use social stories. For example, if you had an event coming up, like a school play or a trip to the zoo, or maybe the student is going to the dentist, and the idea would be that you create a little story about what's going to happen, and you might even give the student some ideas about how they might respond in those situations. So the idea is the story then allows the child to be aware of what's going to happen and then reduces anxiety. It also gives the students some responses that they might be able to use in those situations as well. Social stories can also be used to develop social skills. I'm going to show you a video in a minute, and within this video you'll see the beginning of a story to support a student who struggles to ask for help. So this young lady, when she's struggling with her schoolwork, she becomes very upset and she might cry or she might leave the room. And the idea was that we created some visuals to support her with that. And then we made social stories to show her how to use those visuals and to prompt her in using those visuals independently. You can make social stories using Microsoft Word and using pictures from Google Images. You can also use symbol-based software, as Neil's mentioned before, things like Boardmaker or Widget. We'll talk about those perhaps a little bit more at the end of today's session. But you can also use apps, and I've made a little video of an app that we really like at High Furlong School, and it's called Pictello. So this is just a short video to show you how you might use the app to create stories for your learners.
I'm going to talk to you today about an app called Pictello. Pictello is an app designed for creating stories using photographs, video clips, or screenshots. I thought I would talk to you today about some of the features that I find useful as a speech and language therapist and how you might use that within a classroom environment. So this is the homepage for Pictello, and as you can see there are different folders and you can create different folders for different topics. The two main reasons that I would use Pictello would be for creating social stories or for creating activity stories. So the activity stories would talk about something that the child has done during the day, including photographs, and the child could then share those stories with other people. I'll show you our social stories folder first. As you can see, you can create more folders within a folder, and I have created folders for different students here. Within each student's folder, there are stories that are relevant to that student. I'll show you an example story here. So this one is called Using My Flip Card, and this is about using a visual cue to ask for help.
My story about using my flip card. Sometimes my schoolwork can be hard. I feel worried when I don't know what to do.
So as you can see, you can add photographs to the story. You can do this as you go along, so you can take pictures while the child is working and upload them quite quickly. It's really quite a quick and easy way to make a social story. You can then also download the social stories email them to yourself and print them. So you can also have a paper-based copy if you need to. What many students find useful about having their social stories on the Pictello app is that they can use them independently. So even if the student has literacy difficulties, the story will read automatically, and therefore they won't need someone to support them in using the story each time they want to read it. I'll show you how you would make a story. So we can go to our story wizard, where we type in the name of our story.
Example.
And as you can hear, when you type in a message, it will speak it aloud. Again, also supporting students with literacy difficulties if they want to create their own stories. You can then choose a cover picture for your story. And then you have the option to use text with a voice, and you can select the voice that you want. So it might be a male voice or a female voice, or alternatively, you can make a recording and record your own voice. If the student is able to, they might want to do the recording. This can be really useful for students who have selective mutism. So at home, they might record messages about things that they've done. And then when they come into the school environment where they find it more difficult to speak, they can play their story aloud to their classmates. So I'll take you back to our home page and we'll have a little look at how you might use an activity story. So as before, we have different folders for different students. And this time I have used the pre-recorded voice.
Fun on the bikes.
You can see that as each word is read, it's highlighted. So again, that's supporting literacy skills.
Today I played with my friends in the playground. We tried out different bikes.
So it's a really useful tool for both supporting a child's understanding and use of social skills, and also supporting them if they struggle to maybe verbalize things that they've done. So it's allowing them to be involved within a conversation or an activity in the classroom environment. And it's an app that is useful both at home and in school. And it's something that can be used again and again.
So that's Pictello. I'll hand back to Neil.
Great, thanks, Sarah. Let me just get back to the slides. Ooh, there we go. Okay, just to mention a resource that's really useful because a lot of people use Microsoft Office 365. So this is in the Office 365 version of Word. It's in the Office 365 version of Notes, OneNote as well. So if you go to View along the top panel and then go to Immersive Reader, on the third tab along the book symbol, there is a picture dictionary option there with Boardmaker, who are one of the kind of major kind of symbol set providers. So it's quite a well-known symbol set. And once that's on, it means you can click on a word in the text that you've just opened up, and if there's a symbol associated with it, it'll come up with the symbol, which is a really useful kind of built-in feature there, and really good to have it in mainstream software. Something for Google, if you're looking to make visual kind of resources. Now, again, consider what the individual's need is around symbols. You don't want to be confusing symbol sets with them if they're very set on a particular group and they're very used to it and it's a language requirement. But if all you're doing is embellishing work to make it clearer for learners, then you can use this add-in for Google Slides, which is Insert Icons for Slides, and the publisher there is Romain Villard. And The symbol sets are quite a wide range. There's some for free, and I think the maximum that you would pay is $40 a year for the extended bank. But then I think you're talking kind of millions. So if it's a regular resource you're going to use a lot, then that's really worthwhile. To mention, if you want to do more research and find out more about visual learning, on the Tech Ability Standards, which are a set of resources to show you what excellent assistive technology is, there is an entire section on visual methods of working. So I've left the link there for you to explore. And that will give you some more resources and a guide of what to look for. Okay, so we're coming to the end now. I'm just going to outline what we've got coming up in the next month or so. And then we're going to be switching to our drop-in session. So if you'd like to stay around for that, then we'll be going through different learner inquiries that you might have around accessible technology. And we've got some questions that have been submitted to us within the last week or so. So we'll be discussing those. So next week, I'm really excited to say that on the 11th of November, which is a Wednesday, we've had to change it from a Thursday to a Wednesday for other things that we've got going on. We've got Microsoft and we've got Hector Minto, who is one of the key individuals within Microsoft around their accessibility. So we're lucky enough to have him on there. So he's going to be going through Microsoft Teams. He's going to be covering the Windows operating system itself and an awful lot. So that's really worth making it there for you. The link at the bottom there is bit.ly/ATT HURS, and the ATT are in capitals. That's important. And of course, this will be on the slides as well, so you can click through to this link to register for the next few weeks. Then the following week, we've got Google, 19th of November, back to the Thursday then. Same for Apple on the Thursday, but on the 26th of November. And then finally, we're covering mobile technologies on the 3rd of December. And that again will have a drop-in session. So I hope you found it very useful today. Thank you, Sarah, for your submission on the social stories and Pictello. That was really interesting. Thanks all to Erica, also to Erica Smith for submitting the work around Clicker. And just to mention, if you found anything useful on this and you want to know more, or you want to have more intense kind of work with us on this, you can sign up for assistance under edtech-demonstrator.lgfl.net. We've also got our links on the right hand side there for YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So thank you everyone for attending. Please stay on if you'd like to be part of the drop-in session. Thank you.